Good morning, financial professionals. I am Preston French, Regional Vice President with E4 Insurance Services. Welcome you to the Brewcast today, which is short for Building Relationships Every Week. Thank you for tuning in. For those of you joining the Brew for the first time, welcome. We always like to start the Brewcast by celebrating today's national days. Today is Ash Wednesday and also National Potty Dance Day. And for those of you that don't know what National Potty Dance Day is, I'm sure if you've ever taken a long road trip down I-40 and your bladder was full while looking for that next exit, then you yourself have performed a potty dance and didn't even know it. So today we're kicking off March's lineup with Mike Coyle, Vice President of Sales with Lincoln Financial, and we'll be discussing buy sales and how they potentially could cause estates to become taxable and what you as a financial professional can do to help avoid that. We'll also do a deeper dive into the buy-sell conversation. We encourage you to use the chat box or raise your hand to ask questions. All attendees are entered into a drawing for a CE voucher and a Starbucks gift card. We will announce the winner at the conclusion of this meeting. So without further ado, thank you, Mike, for joining us. Mike, I'll give you a second to go through who you are, what you do with Lincoln, before we start the actual Q&A, if you will.
Sure. My name is Mike Coyle. I'm the sales vice president, external wholesaler, relationship manager, whatever you want to call me. I'm the go-to person for life insurance at Lincoln for E4. I've been at Lincoln since 2007, so I know how we work. I know the products. I know the concepts. So I've been doing this pretty much for over 20 years now. So I'm excited to be here. It's always great to get in front of a good group of people to share something that hopefully is you provide you'll find beneficial.
Sure, great, Mike. Thanks again. So, Mike, we've all heard about this Connelly case. Can you kind of go through that, refresh us on what Connelly versus IRS is and what the ruling was, how that impacted, I guess, that case that. I guess the ruling was June of 2024 when that kind of was handed down. Can you go through that with us, please, sir?
So the cool thing is I don't have a PowerPoint presentation, which is a good thing because we don't, people kind of get burned out. But I have some handouts that we're going to share with the group and of everything that I talk about today. So here is the first one. And can we see this?
I can, yes.
Okay, perfect. So this is a piece that we put together that kind of outlines the Connelly case. And I'll kind of give you the nuts and bolts of it. So the Connellys were two brothers that owned a business, and Michael Connelly owned 77% of it, and his brother Tom owned 23% of it. And it was an entity purchase. So they had a buy-sell agreement in place, which is really good, and it's something that we need to talk to our business and business owners more about, knowing that there's anywhere between 3.5 and 4 million small businesses in this country. We really feel that they're underserved, and this is something that when we're talking about business succession should be talked about. They had the buy-sell agreement in play. The issue was that the $3 million death benefit with the entity purchase was owned by the business, so the death benefit was paid to the business. And when Michael died, and Thomas went to, he got the death benefit to buy out his brother. The IRS said, "Wait a minute, you're $3 million light on the value of your business." And he got his attorney who said, "No, we're not. Here's why. Here's our buy-sell agreement." And the IRS basically says that you don't just need to have a buy-sell agreement, you must adhere to what the buy-sell agreement actually states. So in their agreement, they never had this certificate of agreed value or anything, a metric that was in there to provide a value, whether it's each year or down the road every 5 years, any type of metric to value the business for the time of at the time that the business would be sold to from the deceased family. So the IRS basically said that $3 million is includable in the estate, and tagged him for $890,000 in estate taxes. And
Hmm.
this went back and forth in court until it went all the way up the chain. And they said they sided with the Department of Treasury. They said you had the buy sell agreement, but you didn't have the metric in place to value the business down the road. You didn't adhere to uh, the stipulations put in your own buy sell agreement. They basically took the agreement and put it in their desk drawer and saved it for when it would be needed, and didn't do the things that the IRS said you need to do to maintain that $3 million death benefit be outside of the business. So what this really is, it's kind of alarming because this is the first time something like this has gone through our court system, and seeing that they sided with the Treasury, Department of the Treasury. It's kind of a wake up call for anyone that is working with business owners to say, look, the call to action is, look, you may not, there are things we can talk about and we're going to discuss in a few minutes that have to do with ideas where insurance provides solutions for businesses and business owners. But this is a good door opener to just have the conversation. Do you have a buy sell agreement in place? What is your succession plan? And are you adhering to what the buy sell agreement you know does? It's kind of interesting too that many people, there's businesses that either don't have a buy sell agreement, and then there's businesses that do have a buy sell agreement. The problem is that more than half of those buy sell agreements are not funded with the insurance or whatever. So yes, the buy sell agreement's there, but where is the funding going to come from to actually buy out the other party?
Owner. Yeah. So, and again, I think you went through some of it. So what is the lesson or opportunity here? Because I know there's several financial professionals that are on the call today that have either worked on a buy sell agreement, placed one in force, or getting to work with business owners today. What would you say they need to do, or what's their call to action?
Yeah, and it's pretty simple. It's asking the question, what is your succession plan for your business? It's a simple question. Okay, do you have a buy sell agreement in place? And it's going to be yes, it's going to be no, or it could be yes, but it's not funded. So if it's yes, yeah, let's review it and make sure that it's sound, number one, and also that we're adhering to it. Have you had a business valuation done recently? Because that's one thing that's the metric that you need to make sure is in there, using this case as an example. So the call to
Sure.
action is providing the service of, hey, let's review this buy sell agreement, which can then lead to opportunities on the insurance side, not just with the buy sell agreement, but maybe other insurance solutions that we'll talk about in a second that can help them and help their employees moving forward.
So what you're saying is I guess a golden opportunity here is if anyone on this call has written a buy sell policy with a buy sell agreement within the last year or longer, this is an opportunity for them to call that business owner and explain to them some things have changed and we need to review it.
Yeah, and I would say it's not just in the last year.
Sure.
Any business owner, if you have a buy sell agreement that's 10 years old, some of the old ones especially, maybe or probably need to be reviewed even more, to make sure that they're meeting the stipulations that are the newer guidelines and stipulations that the IRS is putting out there.
Yep, I agree. So from an overview perspective, what are some life insurance solutions that cater to the needs of a business owner?
Yeah, so I'm going to switch here. And this is a piece that is called, it's our business solutions piece. And we're going to send this out. It talks in generalities and then gets into specifically each one. But I'm just going to go through kind of like the pyramid here. There's a lot of concerns that business owners have with retaining, rewarding, and recruiting, the 3 R's, right? So they want to retain talent, get people to work for them. They want to reward that talent, and then they, recruit new talent. And keeping people, especially if you've seen the turnover that's gone on specifically since COVID, with a lot of companies, keeping people around has been a big challenge for a lot of business owners. And there are some things that can benefit both the employer and the employee that involve insurance, and this kind of that shows them. So I start at the bottom because the bottom is the big one. We're talking, and we mentioned it, transferring the business efficiently to where it's going to go. So typically, I mentioned in the Connelly case, that was an entity purchase agreement. Excuse me. So basically, the business owned the policies and was the beneficiary when partner one passes away, business gets death benefit, buys out the stock of partner two. The other way that we set these up, and is really common, is a cross purchase, where just if you have two business partners, one owns the policy on the other, and vice versa. That way, when one passes away, spouse buys out his business insurance interest, and business moves on, and spouse moves on with their wherever they're doing in retirement, whatever they're going to do with that money. The second one is key person. Now, this can be a lot of times the buy sell agreements are funded with term insurance, and so is key person. And this is basically, you have that one employee that if they left your company or passed away, you'd be in a world of trouble, because you have to replace them and train the new person to get them to the level that person was providing, the benefit for you as a business owner and running your business. You're going to take a financial hit there. So a lot of times this is also term insurance, that if something were to happen to them, there would be a death benefit to offset any loss, to get that next person in line and properly trained to replace that key person. The one,
Sure.
the other three that you see at the top have to do with rewarding employees, and then and I look at them, they're all ways of putting money into an insurance policy to distribute tax-free income during retirement. It's just different ways of doing them: deferred comp, split dollar, and executive bonus. And basically, if you go from 162 bonus up the chain, it has to do with ownership and control. So 162 is the one that you're bonusing them the premium to pay for, to put into the policy. You're sometimes double bonusing them to cover the taxes on that bonus, and then the money is then going into the policy to grow, and then they can take it tax-free at retirement. You can put vesting schedules on it, but the key to the 162 bonus is that the policy is actually owned by the employee, but the benefit to the employer is, by doing this, it's a payroll tax deduction. So because they don't own the policy, there is a tax deduction for the employer. Now, the split dollar, that is a share of ownership of the policy, and so over time, the employer would get back that tax benefit over time, once they roll out the plan totally, after it vests to the individual. And then the non-qualified deferred comp, again, you're talking about being the ownership as the key. Who owns the policy? If it's the business, it's not tax deductible. If it's the employee, which like the 162, then it would be tax deductible to the employer.
Gotcha. So going through the three pillars of the triangle, do you have an example of a case that you've worked on with the business owner that you can show us or tell us about?
Yeah, so this is really interesting. So from time to time, I'll get asked to do point of sale with an agent or advisor, and I got asked to go meet this business owner, and it was up in Michigan, and this guy had his businesses, and we went into the discussion. He wanted his 3 key employees to fill out the life insurance application, because he wanted to put the key person coverage on them, and they were like balking, because they're like, well, you're the beneficiary of this, not us. This is not for us. They're like, why would we do this? So anyway, so we sat down with him, and I kept hearing something. So a lot of times they talk about shut up and listen, right? So as my advisor is talking and I'm listening to the business owner talk, he mentioned a $200,000 tax liability, probably about 6 or 7 times. And so I said, okay, I have something for you. If you're open to, you have an open mind. And he's like, okay, go ahead. So we talked. I said, I can get rid of your tax liability if you take that money and put it into a 162 bonus for you're telling us that these employees are key to your business. You want to keep them here, right? Yes. Okay, let's bonus premium into a policy for their retirement. Um, so that's three policies. We're using, I think, Index UL. And you get the tax deductions that depending on the amount of premium, how much you want to do, you could negate that entire $200,000 tax liability that you're talking about. And I said, and then on top of that, you tell your employees, I'm doing this for you. Now sign the key man coverage policy. So at the end of the day, we went there probably looking to talk to him about three term policies for three employees, and it turned into three term policies for the key employees plus um, three permanent IUL policies on those employees. I think he ended up settling on putting 50 grand a year into these policies for 10 years for these key employees. So, a good success story, but it came out of listening to the concerns of the business owner just by asking him some questions.
Yeah, and I think that's key. Just listening. That worked out to be a nice case and properly insured the business owner as well. So, Mike, this is the part of the brew where we open it up for questions, and got two questions already. The first one is with entity purchase. Can you discuss the other IRS requirements needed in order for the death benefit to be tax free or paid tax free to the entity upon death?
Yeah, it really the main component is having a value of the business and having a determining factor to it, right? A method. Like you can't just say it's $2 million today. Well, you don't know what it's going to be 3, 4, 5, 10 years from now. Hopefully, you're going to grow. So in that buy sell agreement, and we can send you some samples, like specimen ones. Um, you want to have in there every year, every two, however it is. Usually you would do it every year on whatever date we're going to have. It can be an informal valuation. You don't need to go get a full business valuation, but some metric in there that says um, this is the value of the business. Now, the other thing to keep in mind too, when we're talking about the value of the business, there are several different um, valuation methods. And we have them in our software. We can do, informal business valuation, quick mock-ups, basically. But the key to that is picking the right one that gives you a fair value and not saying, okay, this is the method we use, accounts receivable, and is one. So this method that we used, it gives us the lowest valuation for tax purposes. That doesn't fly with the government. So they're going to sit there, and if that's the one you're using, you have to be able to justify that. So when we're doing these business valuations, making sure we're picking the one that is easily justifiable to the IRS as to why they're using it, not just the cheapest one. And I have an example where we had a business owner that needed 30 million, and his CPA was like, you don't need 30 million, you need 10 million. We valued the business at 10 million. And he was using, the fair market value. Um, all of the other different methods had him at 40 to 50 million. And he's like, yeah, we're picking this one because it was the cheapest. And then I was like, I said, I told the advisor, I would get something in writing from the client stating that you made them aware that you need 30 million of coverage to cover you in case, just in case lawyers get involved if something were to happen and they find out that the IRS thought differently of the business valuation than the 10 million the CPA was saying. So some things that you may get in some discussions with attorneys and CPAs about what they think the client needs, and it's fine. And you can, a lot of people like path of least resistance. You don't want to be confrontational. Okay, if you think we only need X amount of coverage, yeah, we'll do that. But I want my client to sign, our client to sign something saying that I recommended this amount and they went with a different amount just to cover my, what, in case litigation were to happen. In that case, I guarantee when something happens, the IRS is going to not like the $10 million valuation.
Sure. So you mentioned path of least resistance. So the next question we have is, what is the best strategy for a situation where you have multiple owners and a traditional cross purchase just requires too many applications? Typically, entity owned buy sell would be the most efficient way to
Right.
do this, but this seems to be obviously more extensive or an issue.
Yeah, so the trade is a trade-off. So the trade-off
Yeah.
is not having multiple policies at the business. You can do the entity stock purchase and have the business own a policy on each of them, so it's less policies. The trade-off in there is making sure that we're doing the business valuation, doing the things that are stated in the buy sell to make it a valid buy sell in the IRS's eyes. Versus if we did a cross purchase, yeah, it's multiple policies. But I will say this about the cross purchase: I wouldn't get too hung up on the multiple policies, because a lot of times I would tell people you're sticking with one carrier. All right. So if you stick with one, and again, Lincoln, yay, we're great. I'm going to tell you we have great products and all that other fun stuff. But you go to E4. E4 is going to find you. That's part of their value, is they're going to find you the underwriting with the product. But in situations like this, you would try to keep it where with one carrier, whoever that carrier is, for all the policies. It makes things a lot easier to administer, and also get the policies through underwriting in force and getting the job done.
Sure. There's a will, there's a way. We'll get it done right.
Right.
So go ahead, Mike.
So I this was a piece that I added after we had talked yesterday, Preston. That I want to set out too. This is just a conversation starter piece that has some questions you can see on the left about from everything from business succession to the retained reward recruit part that we talked about, and protecting the key employees, how to bring up the conversation, and then obviously the concept that goes with it on the right side. And the great thing about this too is I mentioned E4. So they are your go-to people for the actual insurance and getting everything that you need, and they're going to handle everything. Right. It's I'm not mentioning specific products here other than term, because that's what we do in buy sell, but variable, IUL, whatever, that's what you go to E4 for. It's making sure that we understand the concept and that the solution is an insurance solution. Once we know insurance is a solution, I used to say this the wrong way. I used to say the product is irrelevant, and that's not the case at all. The product's underlying. We get the concept down and learn how to have the conversation. We'll find the right product. Let's get the conversation started and understand the concept, and then go from there.
Good. And I like that conversation starter piece. And looks like we've got one more question, Mike. When are 101J letters needed for these types of business plans?
All right. I will have to get back with it on that one. I'm not a advanced sales attorney or tax efficient with tax forms, but I'll take that as a takeaway and get back to the group.
Perfect. Thank you. And while we wait for any final questions, I'd like to remind everyone that today's brew and our entire library are recorded and shared on the brew page of our website, www.e4.insurance.com. Today's recording will also be posted to our brew page, added to our library, and emailed to advisors later. Now, I don't have any other questions. We're going to do our giveaway for the CE voucher and Starbucks gift card. So, Mike, I need you to pick a number between 1 and 30.
All right. So I'm going to use my old football number, 29.
29. So 29, the winner today is Gina Morgado of Smart Bank Insurance. Congratulations, Gina. Be on the lookout for that CE voucher and Starbucks gift card that will be coming your way from all of us here at E4. Mike, anything else, last thoughts, words before we wrap this up?
Yeah, just if you guys have other questions, we do have a team at Lincoln. We call them specialty markets. So we have advanced sales attorneys and business insurance specialists that can discuss cases, specific cases with you, or specific situations with you. They're a resource for me. They're a resource for E4. They're a resource for you that can help Hey, I got this situation with this business. Um, what options do we have? We can help put that together and help you get prepped to have that meeting as well.
Perfect. And again, this is going to be recorded and put on our library. Mike, do you want to plug your email in this video? So
Yeah,
if anyone has any
sure.
questions,
It's easy. So Mike Coyle, Coyle, and then it's Mike.Coyle, and it's at LFD, like Larry Frank David.com. And then the phone number is 614-204-8574.
perfect. Thank you again, Mike. So with that, we'll wrap it up. Next week, we'll continue March's lineup featuring Symetra's Director of Advanced Sales, Doug Bowden, and Symetra's Regional Vice President, Brad Mills, to discuss creating opportunities with business owners, including buy-sell options. So again, I want to thank all of you for tuning in, and we'll see you next Wednesday on The Brew.